Hey again everyone, and welcome back to the channel for the next installment in our ongoing new figure showcase series. And if you're new to the channel, just to give you a little heads up, this is a series where I take a look at a newer release that I'm adding into the collection. Sometimes I will back collect, but most of the time it is a newer release. So for today's installment, I'm actually really excited to take a look at this piece. And we're going to be looking at the MK6 2.0 Diecast Iron Man figure with Gantry from the original Marvel's Avengers. Now, this is based on what has to be probably a couple of seconds scene at the beginning of the movie after Tony has tapped into the New York City power to power up the Stark Tower. So it's a small scene, but again, a suit that I think a lot of people have a connection to. And one of the things that I've always wondered with Iron Man in particular, we know that Hot Toys makes a ton of money from these particular figures, right? There's always a ton of interest from fans on these. And after the end of Iron Man's kind of journey in the MCU, there was always a question in my mind on how we were going to continue to get Iron Man figures from Hot Toys. And I think we've seen that they're doing Gantry pieces, they're doing diorama pieces, so they're still doing what they're supposed to be doing. But now let's take a look at this set. And I will tell you, the first word that came to mind when I pulled out all the components, it's overwhelming. There is so much here, and you can even see all the components, and the Iron Man, which usually is the centerpiece, and it still is the centerpiece here, it's almost dwarfed by just the scale of, in particular, the Gantry components. So look, you're getting a ton of accessories for the Iron Man itself, including some battle damaged accessories that you can swap out for the suit itself. You're also getting some interior working pieces that kind of show you the assembly and the inner workings of the Iron Man armor once the panels are removed. You do get that alternate Tony Stark head sculpt. You get some screwdrivers and the like, but the bulk of it is this Gantry piece that we'll look at more fully assembled. But to start with, let's take a look at the hands as we normally do. And look, you're not getting anything out of the ordinary here with if you're used to getting an Iron Man diecast figure. You're getting the posable hands with the posable fingers that are always a personal favorite. You do get the pre-posed hands that are splayed out with the repulsors out, and then you do get an additional two hands that have the top of the hand deployed to hold the laser beams. So pretty standard. Paint apps are great on these as well, with the nice weathering details, so nothing to really complain about. Now you start getting into those inner working pieces. Now you do get one for the back, which I don't think can actually attach to the figure. You do get a chest piece that can also swap out with the chest components, so you can actually see the figure with them. And then you get the leg component. So pretty cool overall. The detail on these is phenomenal. Right, the amount of work that you're seeing here from the small metal frameworks with the hints of gold as well, the detailing is phenomenal on these. So I really have to give Hot Toys a lot of credit on what they did here in these pieces. Now the next components, you do get the battle damaged chest piece, which I think we've seen before, and then you've got the slew of armor from the shoulder. I don't know that they're rocket launchers, but the bullet launchers, and then you get an accessory of pieces, or sorry, an array of pieces for the arms that basically have the rockets sticking out, the smaller missiles, so you can basically armor up the figure in a way that you want. And even shown here, I do have the shoulder pieces that are also part of that kind of deconstructed Iron Man look that you have going here. Very nicely detailed, again, from detail point of view to paint applications, it's pretty impressive. And now, as an added bonus for this particular set, you do get this helmet piece that you can connect to one of the arms that comes out of the Gantry, and it is connected via magnets. Or, sorry, not via magnets, but it's connected via the arms. And you can open up the helmet to reveal the inner workings. The level of detail here, it continues to impress, right? That's really the story with all of these accessories. So I gotta have to give Hot Toys credit. And then you get the laser components that come out of the wrist kind of launchers. Nothing really special here. I do wish they were maybe a little bit more vibrant red, but fine overall, nothing crazy. Now let's start getting into the Gantry pieces. So what you're seeing here first is are the arms that you see kind of deploy out of the Gantry components to start removing portions of Tony's armor from the suit. So each one does tab into one of the gantry arms. It's fully articulated, so you've got multiple pivot points, multiple articulation points to really kind of create your own custom elements. And they're all actually pretty unique from a different length perspective to a different attachment, so that you can connect different components of the armor to them. So very, very cool looking. So now let's get into the figure itself. And we're going to start with the standard armored helmet. Look, this is Iron Man, right? The detail on this, fairly simple actually, but the gold and the red and the chrome-like gold on this, it just screams classic Iron Man to you, right? If there's one thing that Hot Toys gets right, it's these Iron Man figures and the detail on the armored elements. So just another stunning looking piece. But one of the highlights of this should have been the unmasked sculpt. Because let's be honest, with the Gantry, my thought was to display him with all the armor being removed and having that head sculpt display. In hand, I will tell you, it's not as bad as I thought it would be. There's a ton of detail here, from the hair to the wrinkles on his forehead, just throughout. There's almost too much detail. And what I mean by that is, it's almost like he's an older version of Tony Stark than what we saw in the original Avengers movie. So it's a little distracting, and they gave him a bit of a smirk, which normally I'm all for some expressions, but it kind of throws things a little bit. So I just wish that I could tell you that this was a great sculpt, but unfortunately I feel like it is a little bit lacking. Now looking at the figure itself, it's an Iron Man suit, right? The detail work on these, pretty impressive. The armor, the color, the red and gold, that's classic Iron Man. This is the Mark 6, which I think a lot of people have as one of their favorite suits from the main 7, right? It's the Mark 3, the Mark 6, the Mark 7, right? That people and fans like myself are always impressed by. Hot Toys kills it with these, right? The detail on the panel points, the fact that this is diecast, there's a heft to this figure that if you've never had a diecast figure in hand, you're in for a treat with these, right? The points of articulation, the way that Hot Toys has engineered the armored panels so they can lift. And here, because you do get those extra inner working panels, a lot of the leg pieces are actually held in place by magnets so that you can do the swap out. I will give you one negative though. There is one piece of the armor along the leg that doesn't slide into the position that I want it to. Am I going to make a fuss about it? Maybe not. It's not that bad, but it's just something I noticed that's a little annoying. But now let's get into one of the highlights of this figure, which is this gantry piece. So obviously you're just seeing the base simple version here without any of the arms, without the figure. It is so impressive. The scale alone, and you're going to see it with the Tony Stark in a second, but the scale of this is just insane. The light up feature too, this is extremely bright. The LEDs are well done, right? The blues and the white light on the stairs and on the sides, it just illuminates the figure really, really well. And the detail on each component of the gantry, with the different length arms, the different panel points, there's just a lot visually that's going on here. And even with the lights on, you could see how it really brings the figure to life. And not only that, but you can also see how small the figure almost seems like relative to the gantry. So if you've had an Iron Man in hand, you know the scale of these is pretty significant. So it just starts giving you an idea of how big this piece is. I knew it was going to be a larger component. I just didn't know how large it was going to be. So overall, that diorama piece, if you have the real estate space for it, is the highlight of this figure from Hot Toys. And now looking at the figure itself with the armored elements, with the shoulder armor, the chest armor, the leg armor, it really looks phenomenal on these, on the figure. The level of detail, right? And I have him with the armored gauntlets as well, which I don't know that that's necessarily the right look for this, but the level of detail here is impressive. And you can see all the arms kind of splaying out from the gantry arms to take out each piece of armor. So you can have the leg plate armor, you can have the shoulder component, you can have the helmet basically being removed from him. Again, you have a lot of flexibility in how to pose this. So this is just one attempt, and for me, it's not even going to be necessarily the final one, because I'm going to try to play around with things a little bit, right, to see how it looks. So it's a very busy set in a sense, but just looks great. And even if you wanted to go with just a classic figure, right, where without those arms and without all those components being, active in the background, you could still use this as a great display for the Iron Man figure in multiple ways. I'm impressed. I can't tell you all enough how awesome I think this release is. The only negative that I have to talk about is really that sculpt. That unmasked sculpt, it's better in hand than what it looks like in the pictures or how it photographs. And maybe because of the lighting and the detail on it, it just seems older than it really is. But it's just, we've seen Hot Toys do better Tony Stark sculpts, right? I appreciate that they tried something different with the smirk. Definitely very much a Tony Stark look. But I feel like they kind of missed the mark on it a little bit. So it's not the end of the world. You can still display the figure with just the full suit, but I do feel like that was one of the selling points of the piece for me personally. So it is a negative. The other thing besides the armor piece that doesn't fit, that I would caution everybody, I don't know if everybody's going to have this issue, but I had it, was removing the neck adapter from the body to be able to put that unmasked sculpt on. Mine was stuck in place, and I think there was a little excess glue on mine for some reason, so just be very cautious when you're doing the swap out. But look, those are the negatives, and even with some major negatives like the sculpt not being what I thought it should have been, there's no denying that this is an amazing piece and continues to showcase what Hot Toys is capable of doing, especially with these Iron Man figures. So if you are interested in picking this up, I don't think you'll be disappointed. Obviously, price point is a big concern, but it is a striking figure. So for me, very excited to have him in hand. I can't tell you how, not overwhelming, but how much of a centerpiece it really is. So just my 2 cents on this one. Great piece. Even with the negatives, I think it's a home run from Hot Toys. And yeah, if anything, I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on this. So as always, thanks for watching, and if you're enjoying the content, please consider dropping a like, comment, or subscribing, and we'll touch base on the next video.